And we have some more inputs coming in on this story. Now, Public Safety Department of Canada has posted on X saying that there is no place in Canada for hate. The circulation of an online video in which Hindu Canadians are told to leave Canada is offensive and hateful and is an affront to all Canadians and the values we hold dearly. So this is the reaction that is coming in from the Public Safety Department of Canada that has posted this on social media, that there is no place in Canada for hate, and the circulation of an online video in which Hindu Canadians are told to leave Canada is offensive and hateful and is an affront to all Canadians and the values we hold dearly. So this is the reaction that is coming in from the Public Safety Department of Canada. Remember, the tensions are rising between India and Canada, and amid all of that, we have this reaction coming in after a video got viral in which Hindu Canadians were told to leave Canada. And we have CNN News 18's Abhishek Jha joining us on this story. Abhishek, a very good morning to you. So Abhishek, we have this reaction coming in after a video got viral in which Hindu Canadians were allegedly told to leave Canada. Can you tell us more about this whole particular episode?
Of course, Anjali, there has been multiple instances in the recent past where Canadian Society of Indian Diaspora, where there were, wedge that was tried to be pushed between them, Sikhs, the so-called Khalistani supporter groups, who are very small in numbers. They have tried to intimidate and threaten Hindu community there. There have been vandalization of temple, desecration of temple walls, and anti-India sentiment that were propagated by these small elements. So that while that does not speak largely about the overall Sikh population in Canada, it does impact the peace and harmony of Indian diaspora living in there. Ever since Justin Trudeau government has leveled charges against Indian agencies saying that they have credible allegations, linkages showing that Indian agencies' role was there in the Hardeep Singh Nijja's killing. The same fringe elements who used to be on the margin of the society in Canada, they have got involved in this. There have been multiple social media platforms in Canada operated especially by these Khalistani elements, which have started threatening Hindu community, so much so that SFJ, Sikhs for Justice, another banned organization, they have also asked the Hindus in Canada to leave and go back to India. And this is where the Canadian society has found itself helpless, and probably the first time where the social divide among Indian diaspora because of the Sikh Khalistani group is coming to the fore, and this has alerted and alarmed the Canadian society. And now we have Safety Department of Canada issuing a notice that the peace and harmony is always there, and they do not support violent groups, they do not support extremism. But they have been very silent on these groups in the past. They have been very silent when India has raised issue about them in the past. They have been very silent about secessionist activities, calling for annexation of Indian Punjab, and people parading across Canada in various places. They're calling out India, threatening Indian diplomats, putting bounty on their head. These organizations or these state departments of Canada, they have been very silent on those issues. They have never reacted. But now, when they think that the issue, the brewing issue, has become on the borderline of becoming a conflict between among the communities in Canada, they have started issuing statements saying that they do not support vandalism, they do not support extremism, they do not support violence in the name of any social movement.
All right, Abhishek, please stay with us. Now, former Canadian MP and Health Minister Ujjal Dosanjh, who is the first person of colour to have been the Premier of Canada's British Columbia, in an exclusive interview to CNN News 18's Akansha Swaroop, he talks about Canada's inability to control organised crime and PM Justin Trudeau's inability to denounce the Khalistani elements. Listen in.
Rival gangsters Lawrence Bishnoi and Jaggu Bhagwanpuria have claimed responsibility for Sukhdeol's killing in separate Facebook posts. What does it speak of the rising organized crime in Canada under Trudeau's administration and the Canadian police's inability to tackle or control crime?
Well, I think that, the Khalistani elements and the gangs in Canada, there are some interconnections amongst them. It's amazing. It's ironic that India has no movement for Khalistan in Punjab. I was in Punjab in May, just this last May, a couple of months ago, In my village, there wasn't a saffron turban to be seen. And it's a big village, and so it's ironic that you now have a burgeoning Khalistani movement in a country called Canada, along with Indian gangsters killing each other on Canadian soil, and that is, of course, that's a problem. Of course, that's a problem.
Now, today, India's External Affairs Ministry has stated that the visa application process has been paused because India's High Commission and consulates in Canada have been facing security threats that have impacted their day-to-day working. In your experience over the years, are Indo-Canadian relations at the moment at their lowest point?
Well, they absolutely are at the lowest point. They were quite low at the time of the nuclear test India had done way back some decades ago. Um, in fact, then when I became the premier, I was invited on a state visit by the Prime Minister Vajpayee, and I think that was the first time the Canadian High Commissioner was able to see anyone in Indian government for years, first time in years. Because the High Commissioner went with me and actually told me. So I think that right now they're actually at the lowest ever, and I don't foresee any change anytime soon. I think that there is, we can sort of get into allegations and counter allegations. It's not helpful, but in the current situation, the government of India, I think, somewhat legitimately doesn't trust Mr. Trudeau.
Right.
He is seen to be very close to Khalistanis, and he is seen to, I know that he has had many Khalistani supporters and advisors.
India is also concerned about Canadian intervention, especially in the state of Punjab. And another Canadian MP, Mr. Chandra Arya, he has also he belongs to the same party as Mr. Trudeau. And he said that, I can't understand how glorification of terrorism or a hate crime targeting a religious group is allowed in the name of freedom of speech and expression.
Well, I think that, well, I was going to make a point which is somewhat similar, because ultimately, freedom of expression is absolutely important. But if you value the ties with a fellow democracy, like India, it may be faulty. No democracy is perfect, and India is perhaps faultier than others. But if you think India is a friendly country, you say yes, freedom of expression. Any Canadian can say or demand anything, but the Prime Minister can say, we, as a government, don't support any efforts to dismember India. But nobody's ever said that, right? So freedom of expression, yes. But at least they can clearly state that they're not in favor of any efforts to dismember India. But nobody's ever done that.
Canada's main allies, including the United States and UK, have expressed concerns and called for investigations, but they have refrained from openly condemning India. What explains the muted response of Canada's allies?
Well, I think Canada's allies are India's allies at this moment in the international environment, and I think that they have to tread carefully. And I've noticed that, and I think Canada finds itself alone for several reasons. But the main reason is that Mr. Trudeau mishandled this issue from my perspective. He's the Prime Minister of Canada. I'm a citizen of Canada. If he says something, I take him at his word. But if the RCMP on one hand are circulating these mug shots that they have picked up from security cameras of the people that have allegedly killed Mr. Nijjar, and they're asking for people's help to identify those killers and the driver of the getaway car, while Mr. Trudeau is saying he has credible evidence to suggest India has done it. If India has done it, give us the goods. Charge the people, unless you say these were Indian agents who flew into the country, did the dirty deed, and then flew out.